Tonight our tales include shapeshifters and other cannibals. Do enjoy. A brother's love. I always enjoyed being in the woods, hunting and fishing. In fact, any activity outside was great to me. I had always had a very large build and rather tall. My family grew up in the country, and now it was just me and my baby sister left. I was very protective of her, as any family member would be. But she wanted her independence. She married a jerk, but together they had 2 beautiful daughters. For now, let me tell you about my fatal hunting trip. Me and my friend were hunting grizzly, and we found one of monstrous size. On average, grizzlies weigh up to 800 pounds. Yet the largest on record was 1,600 pounds. The beast we hunted was estimated to be over 1,000 pounds, with a height of 9 foot tall. The great beast would take a lot of ammo to drop, but we were prepared. I was camouflaged behind a large bush and downwind from the deer carcass. It was a large deer, one we had shot and was now our bait. I carried a 30-06 rifle with 5 rounds. The rounds were buffalo bore and very lethal to big game animals. My buddy was up in a tree stand watching for bear and any other scavenger that may come along. The massive animal found our food. We knew it would. Bears can smell up to 20 miles away. The great beast was here, but stopped before taking our bait. It was this time that the wind changed. Now I was upwind, and the beast knew it. My friend aimed his rifle, but it was too late. In a moment, the bear was upon me, destroying the bush I was hiding behind. My friend shot at it again, but the beast was now after me. I raised my rifle and fired, the shot hitting it in the shoulder. It stood and roared as I shot into the massive chest and the gut area. Hitting a lung would stop it, but if I missed, I was dead. A few rounds did hit the lungs. One even got the spine. The beast fell dead. I crept up to it slowly, testing it to see if it would move. And move it did. With the last of its strength, a claw tore into my leg. I fell and crawled backwards as my friend unloaded his gun into the head. The nightmare moved no more, but my leg was sliced open. I watched as blood came from my leg like a river. Back in the cabin, my leg healed, but at an unnatural rate. In days, the wound was gone. That night I found out what did this to me. and it was not a bear. Through blood and frenzy, pain, unimaginable and unstoppable rage, I slaughtered my friend. I was more than a bear now, and his flesh tasted great. I left the cabin the next day, buried what remained of him. I even said a prayer of forgiveness as I laid his body into the cold ground. The cabin clean, and my friend buried, I left. For the next few years, I remained alone, trying to understand and deal with the monster I had become. In the woods, I was at peace. I felt kinship to all animals there, and they felt kinship to me. I hunted and ate what I killed, like any other predator would do. One day a letter found its way to my cabin. A letter that smelled familiar. My senses had increased, so did my strength. But I never realized the scent until I smelled it now. Did my subconscious remember it? Either way, it was my little sister. Her and the jerk had finally divorced. Now it was her and her daughters alone at their home. It was located on a long dirt road, very isolated. She invited me to come and live there, saying how a man could help around such a large place. I did not want to go. But it was my sister, the only family I had left. I went to town and called from my phone, letting her know that I would like to, but could not afford a plane ticket. She assured me she would buy it and thanked me as we went into details of when and how I was going to move there. I did not care for the company of people, but I have come to terms with being near them. My large frame, dark beard, and general avoidance did not go unnoticed. Strange looks watched me as I walked from the runway and spoke to no one. At 6'6", no one spoke to me. My sister and her kids met me at the airport. Her daughters remembering me from years before. I spoke to them as friendly as I could muster and assured them I would help however I could. The drive was not bad. My sister inquired about how I had been. I answered when I could, mostly a nod here and there. To be honest, it was great to see my little sister again. The house was beautiful and about an hour from town. It was a 2-story home with an apartment out back. That would be mine. I was invited to stay inside but declined, saying I needed my space. Even though I was quiet, you could tell the girls were happy that I was there with them. It was, after all, nice to be around family after my long exile. I warned them not to go in the woods at night. I would be hunting and not like being disturbed. My sister understood, and the girls were asleep shortly after dark. I would bring back the meat that I killed, making sure not to kill with my claws or teeth. The chance of infection was too great. One day the oldest girl asked me if I ever saw a strange thing in the woods. I asked what it looked like, and she told me it was scary. White and thin, with bony arms and sharp claws. Very tall, it watched them from a distance before. Of course they told their dad, but he would not believe them. Instead, he punished them for lying and sent them to their room. The creature almost got them one evening, but was frightened off as it heard gunshots. I hugged her and told her that if the monster came back, come get me. Smiling, she ran back to the house to tell her sister. That night, me and my sister had a talk about the thing in the woods. Surprisingly, she confessed that she had seen it too. It was white, very fast, almost inhuman in appearance. She told her husband, but he ignored her. It had not been here for long, but after the divorce, it was bolder now. I went out that night to hunt, but not food. My curse had left me with some unique abilities. I never catch cold or the flu. I can heal quickly from the deepest wounds. I have better senses, enhanced smelling and hearing. But with all gifts, there is a dangerous downfall to this one. I ate my best friend. It can be hard to control that hunger. I became a bear, large and strong, one with the forest. Most animals avoid me, but accept me as a citizen of the wood. They view me as a predator and something dangerous. I explored my new home that night, the forest. My mind was not completely my own as a beast. I think somewhat, but I am fueled by hunger, like any animal would be. And sometimes instincts are hard to ignore. But my family trusts me, and I swore to protect them. Not long, I hear the howling. Not a man, not a beast. I smell decay and rot, and something large in the distance. It watches me high in a tree. a large creature with pale skin. Its eyes are hollow and black, teeth long and bloody. It howls at me and then growled like a bear. But the sound was different, like someone speaking into a stereo speaker. Somehow it was broken, as if it was trying to sound human or natural animal. It lands before me, covered in the stench of death and decay. Tall, with skin stretched tightly over thin bones. The creature eyes me as I rise to my 2 feet. The height is not far from each other. We both stand over 10 feet tall, me being the heavier of the two. A hand strikes my face as my clawed hand strikes back. Both of us staggered by the other's strength. It speaks again and calls me bear. The foul and rotten odor coming from its mouth. As I roar defiantly in its face. It stares back at me and then sees something. It smiles at me now as it looks into my very human eyes. The bite is quick as its hands grab me. I strike hard with 3-inch claws. The bite is broken and my mouth grabs its throat. Lifting the creature off the ground, I claw deeply into the chest. It kicks away and stares hard at me. Then it lunges, and my mouth catches that long, thin arm. With my teeth, I crush the bone, throwing the creature to the ground. It looks at me in shock, as if such a creature could be shocked. It quickly stands and runs away, the pale body disappearing into the night. I drop to all fours and roar in defiance. Demon or not, I will not go down. The next day, I asked my sister if she knows what this thing is called. She calls it a Native American nightmare. The spirit once tasted human flesh has become a monster in the night, both strong and fast. The smell of rot and decay hangs in the air when it is close by. I told her I would protect them. It has been months now since I saw or smelled the creature. It may have been strong and fast, but it will not get my family. There's a reason why a bear is so feared. that demon found out what I was. This is my home now. As a werebear, I am king of the forest. And whatever this creature is, it decided to leave and not face me again. The Scaled God. The Nile River is the largest river in the world. It was also the heart of ancient Egypt, bringing water into the area, along with passes for travel. The city was abundant with life and prosperity. It is no wonder why many thieves and tomb raiders still hunt for temples. Gold and priceless artifacts can be found in these places. Centers that have long held ancient and powerful curses. Though not all curses are deadly, but they all take a heavy toll. Sobek was a great and powerful crocodile god. Mighty with his natural armor, he was both beneficial and destructive. Much like modern crocodiles, he was feared yet respected. Crocodiles were not only kept as pets, but were even mummified as an offering to Sobek. He was one of the most popular gods and protector of the Nile River. In fact, pharaohs believed they were descended from him. Here was the life force of Egypt. Therefore, pleasing Sobek was a necessity. Rumors of crocodiles that could walk like men circulated around the river. They were considered sacred and children of Sobek. But many held a darker truth. So begins our tale tonight. An accomplished thief was on his way to raid another tomb. He had done this several times and accumulated his fair share of wealth. But he had an empty void in his life, a void that could only be filled by gold. His greed knew no limit. He always wanted more. He was aware of traps and had avoided many in his adventures. Reading the hieroglyphics, he knew this was a tomb to Sobek. Avoiding a trap full of deadly scorpions, as well as several boulders, just missed his head. It was then that he found the main burial chamber, where he found jewels among other items, artifacts that would fetch gold when sold to the highest bidder. He also found mummies, crocodile mummies. He knew that many had gold jewels and earrings draped upon these reptiles. They were small enough to carry back in a wagon, although one was exceptional in its appearance. It even had its own sarcophagus and adored with jewelry and gold. The man reached greedily for the gold even though he thought it was a trap. Well, it was. Upon touching the gold, the tail struck him. Wait, was it alive? How? Startled, the man fell back, holding his now bleeding arm. He then heard in a loud voice, with a very thick accent, "You have stolen from me, Lord of the Nile. You shall wear the skin of that which you stole from, until I call you to the afterlife. All who find this place, you shall feast upon. When a victim comes, only then can you walk as a man. But you will not be a man, my pet, instead. I am Sobek, and your soul is now mine." The voice left without hesitation. The man looked upon his arm as it became scaly, green, and clawed. He felt pain in his body as his limbs stretched. His mouth also stretched, with teeth moving inside. He fell to his knees and then was on his belly. The pain was so intense, he wished for death. But death would not come for many a year. He closed his eyes as his screams turned to something less human and more primitive. When he rose, he was on 4 sturdy legs, and he had a tail. The crocodile that was a thief now found a hidden entrance into the river. As the sun set every night, he would stand and walk as a man. But he was not a man. His green armored hide reminded him of that. Anyone found on the river at night, especially near the temple, was doomed. The deformed body of a crocodile-human hybrid would be the last thing the victim saw. The feast would be bloody, as the beautiful water would turn a crimson red. Clothes were left, but all else would be consumed. Surprisingly, other crocodiles left the creature alone, avoiding him in either form. They would not attack him, though. Even hippos let him pass. This sentry would guard many years, until at last he found death. When he stood before the judges in the underworld, Sobek stood with him. He would exist in the field of rushes, where he would become a priest for Sobek. So the tale is told by those of us who believe Sobek and his truth. Thank you for listening to this video. It would really help the channel if you could subscribe and leave a comment or two. So until next time, beware the Shadowlands.